They called her Agent Viral 9. She was precision incarnate, cold, silent, invisible. From birth, her kind trained for one thing: obedience to the Dominion. Emotions were seen as flaws, artifacts of lesser civilizations. And among all primitive species, none provoked more suspicion than humanity. The humans were recent additions to galactic awareness. They had broken a light barrier a century ago, expanded erratically, and survived what should have been extinction multiple times. Unlike most species, they didn't surrender when confronted. They escalated. And now, rumors circulated in high command that something deeper stirred in their cultural heart, a will to resist, grow, and eventually challenge the Dominion itself. Viral was chosen to infiltrate, not with guns, but with eyes and ears. Her anatomy was modified to blend in, appearance altered to match the human female norm. She was dropped onto Earth covertly, into a mid-sized coastal city teeming with life. The mission: observe, understand, exploit weaknesses, and report. Then vanish. No contact, no attachments, just cold, clinical data collection. But she wasn't prepared for what she found. Humans, loud, chaotic, inefficient, and brilliant. Unlike Dominion citizens who live by hierarchy and order, humans embrace contradiction. They laugh in crisis. They created beauty out of pain. They risked their lives for strangers. And they carried a terrifying trait: unpredictability. Viral moved into a small apartment under an assumed identity. She took a civilian job for cover. Low exposure, low suspicion. Librarian assistant. It gave her access to human literature, data, and more importantly, human minds. That's when she met him. Cade, a former engineer turned volunteer tutor. He had the scars of war on his hands, but his eyes held stories she couldn't decrypt. He was helping children learn calculus with patience she didn't expect from a lesser species. At first, she studied him as she did others, silently, objectively, detached. But Cade asked questions others didn't. He noticed things. "You're always watching," he said once, not accusing, just observant. "You look at people like you're seeing them for the first time." It rattled her. Viral adjusted her programming, buried suspicion, recalibrated her emotional suppressors. But her system flagged anomalies. Her heart rate increased around him. Her sleep cycles became erratic. She began consuming human fiction obsessively, searching for emotional context. Her reports home grew less frequent. She watched Cade talk about human history, how his ancestors had clawed out survival from the jaws of extinction. He joked about Earth being a death world even to its own people. And when a riot broke out across the city from a local protest gone wrong, she saw something else. Humans running toward danger, not from it. They didn't seek safety. They sought purpose. One night, a storm shut down the city. Cade offered her a ride home. She refused. He insisted. When they reached her apartment, she invited him in without knowing why. It was against protocol, against logic, but she wanted to understand. Over tea, he told her about his brother, killed in the Mars uprising. He didn't cry, but his voice faltered. "We screw things up a lot," he said, "but we try. We always try." Viral's core directive screamed at her to leave. Upload the data. Return. But she didn't. She asked him to stay. Her report stopped entirely. The Dominion noticed. They dispatched a retrieval team, quiet and lethal. Viral's location was compromised, but by then she'd tasted something intoxicating: connection, not infatuation, not programming error, something primal, real. Kay discovered a strange device hidden beneath her bookshelf, part her comms relay. "What is this?" he asked. She froze. The mission was compromised. He should have been neutralized, but she told him the truth. "I'm not from here." Silence. Then laughter. "Of course not," he said. "No human woman looks at me like that. Who sent you? Mars? Europa?" She didn't smile. "The Dominion. You call them invaders, tyrants." His face changed, not with fear, with resolve. "You're one of them?" "I was." He stared at her for a long time. "Were you now?" That question triggered a cascade failure in her systems. Her emotional dampeners melted. Memories she hadn't lived flashed, of planets conquered, cultures erased, and she saw it all from the outside, through his eyes. "I don't know," she whispered. She expected rejection, retaliation, but Cade leaned forward calmly. "Then maybe it's time to decide." The retrieval unit landed in the city outskirts 2 days later. For operatives, invisible to most sensors, untraceable by human tech. Their orders: eliminate the rogue agent, sanitize any witnesses, recover or destroy all data. Viral intercepted the message. She had one option: flee. But she didn't. She turned to Cade and said, "They're coming." He didn't flinch. "Then let's meet them together." "You don't understand. They're not like you. They don't negotiate. Neither do we. Not anymore." The humans she had monitored, laughed at, pitted. They rallied. Cade pulled favors, used old war contacts. Quiet militias emerged from the woodwork. Ex-soldiers, engineers, hackers, not to fight an empire, but to protect one of their own. Viral didn't ask them to. She expected them to run. But they came anyway. That night, on a rooftop overlooking the city, Cade asked her, "Would you go back if you could?" She shook her head. "I don't belong there anymore." "Then maybe you belong here." The retrieval unit engaged, but found more resistance than predicted. Human tech was crude, but their will was absolute. Kinetic strikes failed. Their stealth was countered. And for the first time, Viral fought not for survival, but for someone else. She turned her Dominion weapon against her own kind. The battle was short, brutal. The retrieval team neutralized. The last one looked at her with pity. "You've degraded." "No," she said. "I've evolved." In the aftermath, Cade stood beside her, bruised but alive. The city returned to its noisy rhythm. Her mission was over, but her story wasn't. She deleted her Dominion ID, burned every protocol. And when Cade asked her name, she didn't say Viral 9. She said, "Call me Vera." And for the first time in her life, she smiled without programming. They buried the bodies at dawn, far from the eyes of satellites, cameras, and curious citizens. Cade handled the shovels. Vera watched the flames. Her hands still trembled. The retrieval team had been professionals. Emotionless, clinical, efficient. They never paused. They never hesitated. But they died anyway, and she had helped kill them. "You good?" Cade asked. She didn't answer. The words wouldn't form. Something had broken inside her. Something installed by birth. The Dominion would come again. Stronger. She knew their patterns. A scout team lost men escalation. This wasn't over. It was the beginning. Cade didn't need a lecture. He was already preparing. When they got back to the city, he contacted old friends, not just humans. A few off-worlders owed him favors. Smugglers, refugees, engineers living in exile. They remembered Earth's role in the resistance against the Dominion's early expansions. Now, Earth might be the spark again, but Earth was fractured. Humans didn't unite easily. They argued, split, reformed, betrayed each other. What bound them wasn't logic or order, but shared threats. Vera understood now. Humans didn't evolve to avoid conflict. They evolved to thrive inside it. The problem was, the Dominion knew this too. The next wave wouldn't be surgical. It would be systemic. Sabotage, infiltration, misinformation. They would destabilize the planet from within before striking physically. And Vera knew exactly how they'd do it, because she trained in it. Cade set up a base beneath an old metro line, abandoned after a quake a decade prior. It became their war room. Generators hummed, makeshift screens flickered, maps, signal intercepts, names, codes, all surrounded by people willing to help but unsure how. Vera walked among them quietly. Some stared, a few flinched, one spat near her boots. Cade never defended her. He let them feel whatever they needed to. That trust couldn't be commanded. The first Dominion agent appeared in the capital, disguised as a trade envoy. Vera spotted the subtle tells. The stiffness in the jaw. The way he scanned the room with his peripheral vision. He was gathering data, mapping power structures, assessing vulnerabilities. She offered to handle it. Cade refused. We're not assassins. They are. Then we can't become them. It angered her. Not because he was wrong. Because he was right. So they tracked the envoy. Fed him false intelligence. Used him as bait. By the time Dominion High Command realized the setup, Earth's counter-network had spread across 3 continents. Humanity didn't have a central government, but it had something better: resilient chaos, independent cells, decentralized systems, and a population used to surviving on their own terms. It made the Dominion's traditional tactics ineffective. Still, Earth wasn't ready. Not yet. That's when Vera made the decision Cade feared. She contacted another defector, Varnex. 12 had disappeared years ago, gone rogue during a campaign on the Talix moons. No one ever found the body, but she traced Khan's pulses near the rings of Saturn. It was a shot in the dark. He answered. The meeting took place inside the hollow core of an asteroid. Vera went alone. Cade didn't argue, but his goodbye was quiet, final, as if he knew she wouldn't return. Varnex had changed. His outer casing was cracked. One arm replaced with cybernetics. His eyes flickered unevenly. I expected you'd come eventually, he said. I need help. No, you need forgiveness. She sat in silence. He studied her. Tell me what you see, she asked. I see someone who should be dead. I am. They spoke for hours. Not as Dominion agents. Not as rebels. As broken tools trying to find purpose in a galaxy that discarded them. In the end, Varnex agreed. He gave her codes, internal Dominion access points, fleet deployment paths, encryption patterns, data that could cripple a 1,000-year-old empire if used correctly. But the price was steep. Her life, if necessary. Don't let it end with you, he said. It nearly did. The ambush hit during re-entry. A Dominion drone swarm intercepted her escape pod. She triggered the failsafe, scattered her signal across 3 decoys. 2 were destroyed. One made it home. Cade found her half dead in the rubble. Idiot, he whispered, carrying her out. I brought you a gift, she mumbled. Vera was hospitalized in a back-alley clinic run by ex-military medics. While she healed, the data was decrypted. The network grew. More planets began reaching out. Worlds once silent now dared to speak. She woke up to Cade reading beside her bed. I had a dream, she said. Was I in it? You were dying. That's not a dream. It was, she said, because I woke up when she could walk again. They returned to the metro. Everything had changed. The movement wasn't Earth-based anymore. It was galactic, and she was at the center of it. One night, she walked outside, alone. The sky was clear, the stars sharp. She remembered training simulations where humans were described as soft, emotional, weak. She had seen their weakness, their tears, their rage, their contradictions. But none of it was fragility. It was fire. And for the first time, she understood the true strength of humanity. It wasn't in their weapons or numbers. It was in their refusal to be what others expected of them. She found Cade beside the river. When this ends, she said, what happens to me? You live. I'm not human. You're more than most. You should hate me. My people tried to destroy yours. My people tried to destroy themselves more than once. What matters is you didn't let them succeed. She looked away. You always say the right thing. No, he said. I say the truth. They stood in silence. Above them, a star dimmed. A warning. The Dominion was coming. Full force. She didn't flinch. Neither did he. This time, Earth wouldn't just resist. It would fight. When the Dominion came, they didn't announce it with fleets in the sky or seismic tremors beneath the ground. They arrived in whispers. Economic sabotage, strategic power outages, media chaos. Old allies turning into question marks. Entire city sectors blinked off the grid. Panic spread fast and fire. But Earth was no longer unprepared. Vera watched the mayhem unfold from the control center below the old metro line. The screen showed fragments. Blackouts in Tokyo, drone incursions over Berlin, a political assassination in Lagos. It was the opening move of a play she rehearsed her entire life. from the Dominion side. But this time, she wasn't part of the ensemble. Cade moved between command stations with calm fury, issuing orders like a conductor before a storm. Behind him were leaders, some military, some rogue, some neither, all bonded not by loyalty but by desperation. Humanity wasn't united. It was cornered, and that made it dangerous. "They're hitting our food chains," someone shouted. "They're jamming long-range comms too," said another. "Good," Vera replied without looking up. "That means they're afraid." The room went quiet for a moment. Her voice still carried that Dominion cadence, cold, measured. But now, those same traits gave her words weight. She took over strategy. The Dominion wanted chaos, so Earth gave them decoys. Civilian panic was replaced by pre-scripted evacuations. Refugees moved through hidden tunnels and magnet trains running beneath oceans. Assets they thought would crumble instead vanished into operational silence. Cade oversaw counterops, surgical, silent, decisive. Every Dominion agent they unmasked was replaced with a mimic, a loyal act of feeding false intelligence back to their masters. The Dominion expected fear. They found theater. Still, Earth couldn't win by playing defense. The decision came late one night, with warships gathering at Jupiter's edge. The Dominion's battle fleet dwarfed anything Earth had ever built. Their dreadnoughts cast shadows across moons. But something had changed. The fear was still there. But it wasn't paralyzing anymore. It was energizing. They would strike first. The plan was built on Varnix's data. It revealed a structural weakness in the Dominion's command hierarchy, a Neuralink array on their command ship responsible for fleet-wide decision cohesion. Severing it wouldn't win the war, but would turn the fleet into isolated weapons without eyes or ears. It was a chance. Earth had no capital-class ships, but it had minds, engineers, hackers, off-world allies. And it had one asset no Dominion algorithm ever accounted for: Vera. The assault team launched in silence. No comms, no external signals, nothing to track. Just stealth shuttles using old Martian mining tech for heat masking, diving straight toward the void between Saturn's rings. Cade flew the lead shuttle. Vera rode behind him, fully armored. Her Dominion implant pulsed in her skull. It was damaged, partially destroyed in her crash, but still functional enough to pass brief ID scans. It would be their ticket through the fleet's perimeter. They bypassed 2 destroyers and a scout drone grid before reaching the command ship. No alarms, no resistance, just the quiet hum of a behemoth machine, too arrogant to expect sabotage. Inside was antiseptic, walls of glowing veins, biometric nodes, neural relay clusters. The ship was alive, and Vera was its daughter. They found the core chamber. The relay tower rose like a spire in a cathedral, pulsing with energy. Dozens of telepathic officers floated in zero-G. Eyes closed, minds linked across trillions of kilometers. Vera stepped forward. The others waited. Cade gave her a final look. No words. She reached the command pylon and activated her implant. A cascade of symbols flashed through the air, authorization protocols only she could speak. The spire opened, and then it screamed. The neural net recognized her, but didn't obey. Her betrayal had flagged her as a virus in their system. Pain stabbed through her skull. Blood ran from her nose. She collapsed. Cade caught her before she hit the floor. "We go," he said. "No," she croaked. "Give me 60 seconds. You'll die." "I already did." She crawled to the core. Her fingers found emergency override. She triggered a surge, a memory echo from her final years as a Dominion scout, a childhood code embedded in the substructure, a final prayer for those who no longer believed. The system halted. Fleet-wide, Dominion ships paused. Weapon locks disengaged. Formation drives reset. Crews across dozens of decks screamed in confusion. Earth's fleet surged forward. Missile salvos, EMP rounds. Hacked Dominion drones turned on their masters. Explosions lit up Saturn's orbit like fireworks. The command ship's lights dimmed. Cade pulled Vera back as the neural net collapsed. The Dominions I had gone blind. They escaped in silence again. This time, the silence meant victory. Earth's counterstrike forced a retreat, not a surrender. Dominion forces never surrendered, but a strategic withdrawal. Enough damage had been done. The Empire would have to regroup, recalibrate, heal, and in that pause, humanity would expand. After the war, a fragile peace settled over the solar system. Vera disappeared for a time. The War Tribunal issued no charges. Cade refused to testify. No one questioned him. He'd become something of a myth, the human who knew when to trust a monster. She returned on a spring morning, standing beneath a cherry blossom tree in old Kyoto. Cade was waiting. "You came back," he said. "Didn't want to," she replied. He smiled. They walked the path silently, people passing around them, never recognizing her face. She looked human now. Mostly. "Enough. I'm leaving again," she said finally. "There are others, still enslaved, still loyal. They need to hear what I did." "You think they'll believe you?" "I think they'll listen." Cade nodded. "I'm not what you wanted," she said. "No," he replied. "You're what we needed." She paused. "And you? What do you want?" "I want you to keep living." She stepped closer. "You said once that humans only survive through shared threats." "Yeah." "Then don't forget, sometimes the enemy can become the reason you win." She left that night. Across the stars, whispers began again, but this time they were not commands. They were questions, rumors of a Dominion traitor who fought alongside the humans, who survived, who changed, and somewhere in the shadows of a fractured galaxy, she spoke to the broken, the disillusioned, the enslaved. She told them of Earth, of a world that bled but refused to bow, of a man who looked at his enemy and saw someone worth saving, and of the people who were never meant to survive, but did again and again because they were too stubborn, too fierce, and too beautifully human to do anything else.